It is Saturday, the 10th of the 5th, 2025. The time is 25 minutes to 10. There are two topics on the docket. I need to talk about Red Bull and are they misdirecting, taking out of their championship campaign by looking too much for too long at other people, aka McLaren and the MCL 39 and their tyre mitigation black magic. So too we'll talk about Colapinto and Checo Perez, potentially Colapinto's sword of Damocles already getting wielded as Alpine's Fabio Briatore executive advisor is having conversations in real time to replace him before he's even started. And then in the third instance we'll talk about Zak Brown, because this dude is something of an enigma as far as his commercial mind, but lacks a little bit of nous, a little bit of pragmatism as far as the way that he views Formula One. In the first instance, you heard that Verstappen was talking at Miami Grand Prix about George Russell trying to get that dude a penalty, and someone said Max Verstappen is a snitch, Max Verstappen is skullduggery personified, but this is bloody F1 for Pete's sake, a piranha's tank of a sporting endeavour. Of course at Qatar last year Verstappen is going to grass on Lando Norris when he doesn't obey yellow flags, and similarly this year too at the Miami Grand Prix. What do you expect him to do if he wants to win races and therefore championships? This isn't UNICEF. F1 is not an altruistic and or philanthropic endeavour. Of course Maximilian Verstappen has this god tier racing IQ, and of course he's going to dob in especially George Russell, since George Russell was the one only a couple race weekends ago, Qatar Grand Prix last year, with whom he had that altercation in the stewards room. However, that being said, some are saying now in the paddock, Ed Straw in particular of the race, that some are having more and more suspicions about the balls that are red, and saying that they're instituting for distraction tactics that take the attention away from their own multitudinous aerodynamic and mechanical travails. What are you talking about, Cameron? Well, Red Bull are talking about MCL 39 and their tyre degradation mitigation processes, right? Is it tyre water? Is it phase changing materials? We don't know. This is all speculation and conjecture, but one thing's for sure, per Ed Straw of the race, legendary F1 commentator and journalist, is this: there is lap time sometimes in campaigning and lobbying the FIA, but to what extent? Some would say that this is a difference in extents and not kinds. And Ed Straw says that now in the paddock there are suspicions that Red Bull are doing one of these, keen to point the finger at everybody else with a view to distract everybody, do a David Copperfield, so that everybody forgets about their own understeer, about their own misconduct, about their own litigation difficulties, some say are going on in the background. Ed Straw says that it's convenient that Red Bull are starting to think, that people are starting to think that they are more worried about others rather than focusing on their own multitudinous problems associated with the car. Oh, the humanity. Now I get there is lap time in this, but sometimes there is distraction in this. Oh, and by the way, Colapinto is about to start. His first race will be at Imola. He's been told that he's got 5 races to prove that he's capable of being an Alpine F1 racing driver. But reports are saying today that Fabio Briatore, Mr. Skullduggery himself, criminal settings, is already having conversations with Checo Perez with a view to get him in that seat if Franco Colapinto does not perform. For the avoidance of doubt, if you think this is a joke, Fabio Briatore has always told you that he's always after the next best one, the next quickest driver, irrespective of whether Franco Colapinto has played his way into the Alpine crease or not. Oh, and by the way, I need to talk to you about Zak Brown, because that dude, I'm telling you, there's something going on there. I like Zak Brown, commercial mind. He's the dude that got all the brand new logos, got Google Chrome atop the papaya coloured car, and for that he's worthy of praise. So too Andrea Stella for turning around a sinking ship in the McLaren team. They have been bad. They were drop dead last not too many cycles ago. However, there are questions being asked of Zak Brown whether he has the minerals and F1 nous, not commercial now, in order to get requisite even to get that team to the championship mountaintop, both drivers and constructors. Now this is different In a conversation with friend of the channel Peter D. Windsor, he said that Zak Brown is being too ambitious, thinking that he has the nous, the F1 and racing mind to do things that no other team principal in history has done. And that's when you're in a close championship fight, both drivers and constructors manage two number one drivers. Ron Dennis couldn't do it 2007. Indeed, Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso then spent so much time fighting each other that Kimi Raikkonen crept in the back door to the tune of a drivers' championship. It only happened in 1989, Senna and Prost, because they were so dominant that year. It didn't matter. So the principal point of contention goes something like this. If you are in a close championship fight, drivers and constructors, and you have two number one drivers, then therefore you are fighting a fight with one hand behind your back. You've brought a knife to a gunfight. Here's what Zak Brown said on a recent Bloomberg podcast. Roll the clip.
The media love a good, a good fight.
This is the story of the season,
and everyone's kind of waiting for it to happen. And what we're saying is, hey, it's going to happen. It's not if it's going to happen. It's when it's going to happen. But you know what? Drivers make mistakes. You can have two guys racing as hard as they are, 24 races. Someone's going to get it wrong or driving it. It's not going to be intentional.
Yeah.
It's going to be good, hard racing. And you know what? It's a mistake. The media love a good.
So go on then, Zach. You're saying that it is definitely going to happen. So the questions that Brown, Andrea Stella, McLaren and boys and girls over at the Papaya Colour team is, how do you handle it? Therefore, I feel like Zach's almost being too pragmatic. He goes on, again, a clip that I didn't record, but he goes on to talk about F1 is sports entertainment. Well, I would disagree in the first instance, Zak Brown. It is sports and entertainment. This is a very different entity from WWE. Yes, it straddles, it wears both caps, but bloody Nora, Zak Brown, as a CEO, you're not incentivized to wear the entertainment one. You're incentivized to win races. All of those Google Chrome logos will go away quick time if, again, you become a loser. And he speaks to that for super honest and earnest. I will link the podcast in the description. He says that we know, again, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when one day we're not the race lead, that we don't have the quickest car to the tune of 0.8, 0.9 around the Miami Grand Prix circuit. And what happens then? What happens then is that we need to be humble, we need to roll up our sleeves and continue to focus on the processes. And for that, he's worthy of praise. However, when Zak Brown says this, I'm left pulling my hair out, frustrated at the car crash that will be at some stage in the 2025 season. The dynamics between OJ Piastri and Lando Norris. Roll the clip.
What's never really been done before that I can remember is two drivers competing for the world championship in the same team.
right?
And it not ending in tears. That's the reality. Andrea Stella, who's our team principal, who's responsible for the performance of the Formula One team, does an amazing job. And P.K. Mansell, tears. Rosberg, Hamilton, tears. Senna, Prost, tears. Like I can't remember the last time there weren't tears. But we're gonna be different, and we're on it. And what's never really been done before that I can remember.
Going to be different how? Zak Brown, what are you talking about, Jeff? How are you going to do something that's never been done? This is unprecedented circumstances. And again, I put the supposition forth as follows. In a close championship, when you have two number one drivers, they will always take chunks out of each other as far as their points in the driver's standing, sufficient to where it leaves the door open for, I don't know, in the 2025 season, a Maximilian Verstappen, for some say soon to be five-time champion, to sneak in the back door and seize another championship, yet another victory from the jaws, no mores of victory. I say all that to say this. Zak Brown, you've got an opportunity in your hands, chap. Do you know what I mean? I like him. He's a likeable chap. Of course he is. We needed this fight. We needed one team to rise up from the embers and challenge the almighty clan from the house of the bulls that are red. But yet and still, if past this prologue, as per last season, I don't want Zak Brown to continue to seize defeat from the moors no jaws of victory. Unless that's to happen, he needs to change his mindset. There is no way that he can do what no other team principal in F1 history has done. you better hope for God's sake, for the racing God's sake, then, that Maximilian Verstappen isn't who we know him to be. The God tier fire-moving dragon that will, if you give him an opportunity, just an inch, take himself even a driver's standing. What are we doing here?